Welcome to TSHL 101. I'm joined by Mike Taylor tonight and one of the newest members of the Texas Silver Haired Legislature, Sharon Fredriksson of Groesbeck. Sharon is stepping into her role with purpose, passion, and a resolution that speaks directly to the needs of senior centers across Texas. Her proposal aims to lower electricity costs for 501c3 senior centers by creating a new billing classification, one that removes non-residential delivery charges, demand reset charges, and state-imposed taxes from their electricity bills. For centers operating on tight budgets and serving hundreds of older Texans every week, this kind of relief could be transformative. So tonight we're going to talk to Sharon about what inspired this resolution, how these costs impact senior centers, and why she believes the 90th Texas legislature should take action.
Sharon, welcome to TSHL 101. As a new member, what inspired you to take on this particular issue as your first resolution?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you so much for inviting me to the program. It's an honor to educate the public about the work that TSHL does for our growing population of aging Texan. As in many cases, when I came on board, I was focused on the issues in my district, the heart of Texas. As I met with groups and surveyed their concerns, one conversation piqued my curiosity: the matter of how much a senior center was paying for electricity.
For listeners who may not be familiar, can you describe the role that senior centers play in supporting older Texans in communities like yours in Groesbeck?
I'd be happy to. Senior centers provide essential services for aging Texans, including nutrition programs, social engagement, health screenings, and resource navigation. It is through these programs that we promote independence, dignity, and the quality of life for older Texans.
Now, your resolution highlights that delivery charges and state taxes often make up 2/3 of a senior center's electric bill. How did you first learn about the scale of this burden?
Well, our local senior center, like so many across the state, operates on a shoestring budget. The director of the center shared with me carbon electric bills she was paying. I asked her to share those bills with me, and I was shocked to see that over a year, 2/3 of the cost were delivery charges. Now, we all have delivery charges on our electric bill, so I had to find out why those for the senior center were so high. I interviewed the investor-owned retail electric provider and the Public Utilities Commission and began to get a picture of the underlying problem.
When the senior centers have to take on these burdens, what kinds of difficult choices do they face when such a large portion of their budget goes towards just electricity rather than their services?
One of the main services a senior center might provide is meals, either congregate or home delivered. Okay. The cost of a meal is somewhere around $5. So if a center is paying, say, $100 in unnecessary delivery charges, that's 20 meals. 4 people could eat at least one nutritious meal a day for 5 days. Very important.
Kind of walk us through the core of your resolution. What charges are you recommending the legislature and the PUC make?
Well, as stated in the Be It Resolved statement in the resolution, we are asking the legislature to instruct the Public Utilities Commission to create a separate billing category for eligible 501c3 senior centers.
Okay, and why is creating the new billing classification for 501c3 senior center the most effective solution?
Well, that's a great question, and one that answering involved many hours of research on my part. As it now stands, there are only 2 billing categories for electricity billing: residential and non-residential. Some call that commercial. So senior centers are in the non-residential category, along with department stores, gas stations, laundromats, grocery stores, and other establishment that receives a fee for goods or services. Attached to that category is something called a demand reset charge. Briefly, what that means is that a business might be rocking along, let's just use a ballpark figure, 10 kilowatt hours of electricity a day. But we have a weather event that requires heating up a freezing building on a cold morning. And many of our senior centers are in buildings that are old. So that triggers the demand reset. The kilowatt usage might increase 4 or 5 times the normal rate for a couple of hours. And then after that demand reset is triggered, the business or the senior center is stuck for 12 months, according to the information from the PUC. Creating a separate billing category should eliminate that issue.
Have you thought through how removing these charges and taxes directly improve the quality of life for seniors who rely on these centers?
Well, let's just take my local center as an example. Over a year, around $12,000 was paid for electricity. Only $4,000 of that was for direct charges for electricity. The rest was for fees and delivery charges. That money could provide more meals, be saved up maybe to purchase another vehicle to deliver meals, perform necessary repairs, purchases for seniors with no air conditioning, or maybe even sponsor special events at a senior center. You know, one of the main killers for aging Texans is isolation. And so, getting more money in the pocket of these senior centers can go a long way toward preventing that.
Now, do you have any examples of senior centers that are struggling with the costs right now?
I do. There are at least 4 or 5 in my district alone. I have talked to several center directors in my district, including the very large Meals on Wheels in McLennan County. And you can just imagine how this might impact them.
Wow. So how many centers across Texas do you think could benefit from this change? And what kind of savings might they see?
There are at least 200 senior centers in Texas. Now, not all of them are 501c3 eligible. However, let's just use 200 because it's a nice round number. Many are larger than the one here in my county, and some are smaller. There could be, I did a little math on this, there could be as much as $1.5 million in savings if this were changed. That would represent over 300,000 meals.
Yeah, let's get where the rubber meets the road, okay?
You bet.
And why we exist. What steps will you and your fellow TSHL legislators take to advocate for this resolution during the upcoming legislative session, the 90th session?
We've already started, as a matter of fact. Many of us are already into the sausage making. Early on, as I was preparing my resolution, I spoke with my local congresswoman to just ask her, in her opinion, was this a resolution with merit? She assured me that it was. So most of us that have written resolutions have already done a little investigative work along this line. Our job now is to meet with state representatives and senators whom we think could back the idea and perhaps a bill to present at the next legislative session. Now, in October, TSHL will have a 3-day advocacy session at the Capitol, where we will personally deliver copies of our legislative report to all state legislators and the governor. The report will have copies of all 61 resolutions adopted by TSHL at our general session in May. And during that time, we will seek out individual legislators who might be interested in turning one of our resolutions into a bill. Lots of legwork.
You never know who's listening, Sharon. A lot of times you're going to have people that are directly and I guess affected by what we're discussing in these particular venues.
Yes.
What can local community senior center directors and supporters of something that like this, what can they do to help elevate this issue?
In the case of my resolution specifically, I need data. And I would like to hear from any senior center director within the sound of my voice and discuss the issue. If anyone listening has a relationship with their congressman or senator, talk to them about what you've learned today.
Now, as a new member of the TSHL, what has this experience taught you about the challenges that are facing older Texans and the opportunities that we have to make a meaningful change?
Learned how easy it is to have tunnel vision, only being concerned about the challenges in my immediate sphere. During our recent legislative session, issues that I had never even considered. It was very educational to me. I believe, Gary, that we must learn to listen to stories of the people who are struggling and then act on the issues by getting involved. We never know when a brief conversation might turn into a life-changing event. My whole thing is don't just talk the talk, you got to walk the walk and get involved in any area in your community that could help aging Texans.
It seems like with every with every TSHL member that we interview every week, the issues that you're bringing to the table not only affect older Texans, but they also have an impact on all Texans. And by advocating on behalf of the TSHL, our listeners are also advocating for all of Texans.
Yes, I believe that, and you're so right. We have to get outside our own little world sometimes, and explore how we can help others.
As we've heard tonight, lowering electricity costs isn't just about saving money. It's also about strengthening programs, expanding services, and ensuring every dollar supports those who need it the most. That's going to be where we pause for now, and we would love for you to join us next week for the conclusion of our conversation with Sharon Fredriksson as we continue exploring how the Texas Silver Haired Legislature is shaping politics that make a real difference in the lives of aging Texans. To learn more, you can visit tshl.org and stay tuned to KNCT for more stories that connect our communities and celebrate the voices working to build a better Texas for all generations.